children 12 and older. One of the items in today's consent agenda is aimed at increasing accessibility of the vaccine for students whose parents want them to be vaccinated. I'm recommending that the board approve a memorandum of understanding with the Healthcare District of Palm Beach County for vaccine point distribution. If the board approves, from June through August, the Healthcare District will administer COVID-19 vaccines at 4 district locations, one each of our 4 geographic regions. The distribution centers would include the Fulton Holland Education Services Center, Safe Schools Institute, West Technical Education Center, and the Pew Center. I stress that the COVID-19 vaccine is not required for students or staff. However, it's important that it is accessible for those who wish to receive it. The district has continually updated webpage dedicated to COVID-19 vaccine locations. You can find out more at palmbeachschools.org/vaccine sites. And I want to thank the entire team, to include Jay Bogus and others in the Chief of Staff's office. It's been a long year, and I just thank you for all your work up until this point. Mr. Chairman, those are my comments at the time.
Board member comments, Mrs. McQuinn? Ms. Ayala?
None.
Mrs. Whitfield? Mrs. Andrews? Go ahead, Mrs. Andrews.
First of all, I'd like to thank the parents who continually send the emails about their children and the concerns about how school will look as we open in August. I've had this conversation with Dr. Fenoy. He says that we will know something soon, but parents are trying to make the decisions as to whether they're going to keep their children in the Palm Beach County School District. And they really do want to know exactly what it's going to look like and feel like for their children for the coming year. So I really want to tell them I thank them for emailing me. Many of them I tried to email back, or Ms. Bass has actually made an effort to respond to them. They're still just very concerned parents. We owe a level of communications with them because their children are our children within our Palm Beach County School District. Many of them are concerned about the vaccines. That's why I pulled the MOU today, because I want them to know that we're not going to ever try to do something against a parent's will. We recognize parents are in charge of their children. It's been a tough year for the parents, for the children, for all of us in this pandemic, and we must keep the communications open and transparent. I think they want to hear about the policies, the visitation policy, the student policy as we open schools up, the employee policies. Teachers are calling. They want to know what's going to happen. So we're continually getting these emails and trying to fill them and communicate to our stakeholders as best we can. But I think as a school board, we've got to make sure that we make a priority in getting this information out for everyone, especially the parents, so that they can feel comfortable as we move forward for the new school year. Thank you.
Dr. Robinson? Ms. Brill?
Thank you, and thank you, Mrs. Andrews, because my comments really fall into yours to some degree. I'm hearing the same thing. I also want to say thank you. One of the things, as we get closer to school opening in August, one item that was brought up, just so that staff knows, that someone asked me today, was about middle school sports. So we need to put that on our radar also. But I had a phone call this morning, and the parent literally broke down crying. And it reminded me that we needed to get some information. And what it was she wants to have her child retained. Her child's in elementary school and is not succeeding. And I said to her, you know, you just reminded me that Senator Berman's bill was passed, which allows students from kindergarten through 5th grade to request retention. There are certain things that we need to advise them, but it's parent choice. This year only, because of COVID. And so if you would all allow me to, because I wanted to get this information and we're not meeting for another 2 weeks, I would like to ask the superintendent to let us know how we're communicating this to parents, because I'm sure all of you are going to get phone calls too. It's not going to be the floodgates opening up, but there are families that are very concerned about the level that their students are at and wanting to know what they can do. So with your indulgence, I'd like to ask the superintendent to advise us.
Please correct me if I'm wrong. So the team, the law was signed into law last week. We received it. So Deputy Superintendent and his team have been working this week. So communication goes out to principals this week. And then next week I will send out my communication to the broader community about it. So we're going to take this week the next 2 days to inform the principals. They will then be working on communications directly to their families, and then we will follow up the next week. And so in that language, we will create all of the expectations, we will create the processes by which the families can use, and we'll take it from there.
If I may just follow up. So my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, we need to let the parents know that they should make the request in the month of June and impress that upon them. However, if we do get any later requests, we are supposed to fulfill them. And so I just think it's important that we get this out, because you need to know for planning, right? You're going to need to know for your classrooms
Yep.
as soon as possible. So I appreciate the update.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, that's the end of our speakers from the board members. We have 3 agenda item speakers, and they're recorded, so would Mr. Ramasar please play those recorded messages at this point?
My name is Julie Damsker. I am commenting on CA01. I just want to say that going forward, I will publicly comment on everything, because I have zero trust and zero faith in any decisions our superintendent and school board as a whole are making. If you change the lunch menu, I'm going to call and question what you're doing, because that's how little trust I have right now. So regarding the vaccination sites, obviously you're getting major funding for this. I'd like to know, where is this money going to go, and how will we, the parents, be able to approve it and follow it? How long will these vaccination sites be outside the school? Do you plan on moving them inside the school? Obviously there's a big trust issue there. Will you be bribing kids, pressuring them, bullying them, like you have with the masks, in order to force these vaccines on them? These are my main questions and main concerns regarding the vaccinations on site. Dr. Fenoy, you do need to be reminded that these are our children, and you will not be forcing anything on them. Thank you.
Hello, this is Angela Salvatore. I'm calling in regards of the vaccines in our school system. I live in District 5 and vote there. I'm calling to let you know that I am not in favor of vaccines being given out in the public school. I heard the doctor or the person who's in charge of our health of our children saying that our children who do not get a vaccine will be quarantined. And I just am afraid that this, and I knew this when I spoke at the first meeting. I've been there already twice. I have a special needs child. I don't have time to come there every board meeting. I don't get paid. I'm actually paying for everyone to have a seat. So you better start listening to our voices. I am not in favor of having our children have vaccine sites being held at the schools. This is not appropriate. It's not even a vaccine. It is a not FDA approved experimental injection. We don't even know what the outcome is, and you want to do this to our children? Not only that, the masks need to be taken off. Other schools, private schools, other school districts are allowing our children to breathe and be healthy and smile. I cannot believe what is going on in our public school system. Honestly, I'm about to give up and call private schools. In fact, that's what I'm doing today. So you need to understand, parents like myself, and there's a lot of us out there, we're done. We're about to just hang it all up, and you will not have a school district because we will be gone. We will be either home.
Hi, my name is Casey Barnes. I'm calling in regards to the special meeting today in regards to the mobile vaccination sites that you guys want to put up on our school campuses. I have a lot of concerns for this. How is it going to work with parental consent? My child is very young. If he ever were to get a vaccination, I'd want to make sure I was right there with him. How is it going to work when other kids have the vaccinations and some don't? Are the ones that are not vaccinated are going to feel shameful? Are you guys going to try and bribe them with cookies and donuts, certain things like that to give them incentive for getting a vaccination. How long is this going to go on for? Are you guys going to try and bring it into the schools? I just have a lot of concerns for this. I think that the schools really need to just stick with schooling our children and not bring vaccination sites onto the school campuses. They're already dealing with so much this year, and bringing this on, it could be confusing. There could be peer pressure, some type of bullying, more segregation. It's just worrisome to me. I'm not quite sure where the money is coming from and all the funding. Where is it going to? Like I said, just a lot of concerns. I would just hope that you could hear us parents more on how we feel about this. I really don't think it's okay. I pretty much know that there is no shortage of vaccination sites in this county. I mean, they're everywhere. So if people do want to go get the vaccination, they can go do that. Or the parent can bring them to their pediatrician office where it should be done, not in the schools. Like I said, let's just leave the schools to school our kids, give them the normal childhood that they deserve. Let's leave the vaccinations out of the schools, and move forward. So I just wanted to give my opinion on that. Moving forward, I hope that we can get some resolution here and keep the schools and the vaccinations off campuses. Thank you so much.
That's the end of our agenda item speakers. Board members, we have 2 items that have been pulled, CAO1 and LD2. At this point, does anybody want to pull anything else before we vote on? Okay, we need a motion to approve the consent agenda. Motion by Mrs. Andrews, seconded by Mrs. Whitfield. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. First item, Mr. Superintendent, CAO1.
Mr. Chairman, I recommend the board approve the memorandum of understanding with the Healthcare District of Palm Beach County and authorize the superintendent or designee to sign all documents and contracts related to the agreement which are required for implementation. This MOU is effective upon its execution by both of the parties through June 30, 2022.
Motion by Dr. Robinson, seconded by Ms. Ayala, and that was pulled by Mrs. Andrews.
Thank you, and I pulled this because parents need to have clear communications. If this is passed tonight by this board, I think we hopefully will send something out to let the parents know. And I heard you, Dr. Fenoy, when you said that no one will be forced to get a vaccine. And this is something I think we've been saying from up here. But parents need to hear it, because when they see something like this item with this memorandum of understanding with the healthcare district, they're concerned, because I think their trust level of us is not where they would like for it to be as it relates to their children. So we need to make sure that we put something out. When I look at these sites, most of them, you don't have really kids at these sites. The district right here at the district office, West Tech, very few children there. The Pew Center, as well as Safe Schools. So we need to put something out to explain to the parents what we're doing. It's a voluntary thing. It's happening all across the state of Florida, across the United States, where the sites are there to get the students as well as others to take the vaccine. So when we do something like this, it's great for us to kind of follow up with communications. I want to thank Mr. Vargas, because you've been absolutely fabulous in talking to parents who've called me. I refer them to you as it relates to the Health Advisory Committee when people had so many concerns about that. And we have to just correct the information to let them know what we are doing. I don't think they want to say bad things, but when they don't have the information, they utilize what they think it is. So we have to be out front and make sure that they know. This is something, this partnership with the healthcare district, I know I've seen a lot of the vaccine pods all across Palm Beach County and heard about them across the state as well as the nation. But now that we're doing it, we need to put something out there for these parents to know that no one's going to force their child to be vaccinated at any one of these sites. It's a voluntary thing. And basically, these sites aren't really on school campuses. So the more that we do things to change our policies, to do things like this memorandum, please follow up with some communication so people can get the information, and then they can make the best judgment. Thank you.
Mrs. Whitfield?
Dr. Fenoy, I was just wondering if you could address the issue that one of the parents mentioned, which was that we were getting paid to do these sites. I think that's a really important thing for people to understand, that that's not true.
Yes, that is very true. We are not getting paid. That is not coming from the board's budget. This is all through the county and state and federal resources. So we are, we are just providing places for families who choose to take advantage of that. And I want to be very clear, outside of West Tech, none of those other facilities are actual schools where children will be present. And so even at West Tech, as Ms. Andrews so clearly stated, it is a lot of adults there. So those 4 facilities are there for volunteer only. No one's making them come. And once again, there will not be any requirement from the superintendent that students must be vaccinated to come to school.
Ms. Brill?
Thank you, and I think this is a great opportunity to dispel some of the rumors that are out there. So maybe having a fact sheet that has the comment, for example, vaccines will, students will have to take vaccines, and then you explain it. Another one, that students who are not vaccinated are going to be segregated. We need to clear up that rumor, because there's a rumor out there that we're going to separate the students, or that we're going to require that they give us that information on the front end. So I just think it's a good opportunity to, in just very clear language, to get that out there so that this way people do understand what's going on. And thank you, Jay Vargas, for what you've done with this MOU. I think it's wonderful to be able to provide the access to the students.
Dr. Robinson?
Thank you. So, yes, some of the misinformation was attributed to me, and I find it fascinating. I think some people misunderstand intentionally. I will assume some people just misunderstand, right? So, but let me talk about 2 things that I remember, and one of them was brought up. So this piece about I'll get to that secondly, about quarantining students who have not been vaccinated. That's if you're exposed, right? So, and just like now or before vaccines were available for young people, if you were exposed and within 6 feet for more than 15 minutes, you were quarantined. I mean, that is the public health standard, right? And so basically, if you look at the flip side, Dr. Alonso said in the Health Advisory Committee meeting that if the student is vaccinated, even if they are exposed, they don't need to be quarantined. So that's what, it wasn't like we're just going to quarantine you if you don't get the vaccine, right? But the second thing, the conversation, I like the word, they threw out the word segregation, which fascinates me. So it was brought to me by a principal, and I still think it's an idea worth exploring. If your master board can allow it, well, first off, all this is contingent upon what is the viral load in the community in August, right? So it seems like we have these conversations in isolation, but that's the framework for all decision-making as far as I'm concerned. But let's say that the viral load in the community is still, we're at moderate risk, right? Then a principal suggested the possibility that if you have, for example, 2 4th-grade classrooms, one might be for kids who want to wear masks and the other for kids who don't. Of course, based on their parent choice. This is parent choice. Of course, the teacher would have to choose too. But that's what that was. That got turned into the magical word segregation. So if we're going to talk about parent choice, let's explore parent choice in a public health realm. And no one had a good answer for what precautions we will need to take if the viral load in the community is still significant in August. Prayerfully, it won't be. Prayerfully, this is a moot point. But if the viral load is still, at a moderate level in the community in August, and we're not able to do 3 feet, what precautions do we take? And so this concept of having masked and unmasked rooms was just a brainstormed idea to answer that question. So the other thing I want to tell you is if you watch the Health Advisory Committee meeting, Dr. Andrick told us about the Indian variant, which is apparently spreading fairly rapidly in England. And for whatever reason, it has a propensity to infect younger people, and they're more sick than the original virus, right? So, I mean, I'm hoping it stays on that side of the Atlantic, but there's a lot of unknowns, and so, and I know we would like to be able to say what definitively is going to happen in the future, but the truth of the matter is we don't know. And so if you watch the Health Advisory Committee meeting, you will hear me asking the other physicians on the call if they knew of any metrics that would suggest that with 3-foot social distancing, if the viral load was at a certain level, that we would need to return to mask. That got turned into something else too. So this is what one of my mentors taught me. They're gonna say many bad things about you. It's your job to make sure they're not true. So those particular rumors, put those to rest. Thank you.
Mrs. Andrews?
Thank you. And my reason for pulling this is for us as a board, because when we're sitting here, we are representing the entire Palm Beach County School District to explain whatever it is that people may have misinterpreted about whatever anyone has said or whatever is out there. Maybe it's not anything that we've said, but as a school board, the policies belong to us, and we're the ones that sign off and vote on the policies. So this is what I tell people over and over. A committee is a committee. They can discuss things, but as a board, we actually can approve, and we vote. And so as a result, just like this tonight, the memorandum of understanding, we've clarified that. The superintendent clarified it at the beginning. And Mr. Vargas, you've done a great job in keeping me informed, which I appreciate. And so we have to just continue working with our parents, because these still are our parents. And you may feel that they have something against us, but I don't take it that way. They're fighting for their children. They're concerned about the health of their children, and they're the mothers and the dads. And so I want to listen to them and try to make sure I can explain to them what we as a board have said, what we're going to do when we actually do it. And so much has to be done for opening of the schools, and I look forward to having the conversation with all of you as we move forward.
Ms. BRILL and for the rest of the board, the exact communication you spoke to is going out in the morning. Tomorrow.
If there's no further discussion, we'll take a vote on the motion. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. LD2, Mr. Superintendent.
Mr. Chairman, I recommend the board authorize the settlement of Palm Beach County School Board versus Jacinta Larson in accordance with the terms set forth in the settlement agreement, and authorize board chair, superintendent, and general counsel sign all necessary documents.
Motion by Ms. Brill, seconded by someone? Mrs. Whitfield. That was pulled by Dr. Robinson. If there's no discussion, all in favor? Opposed? Motion passes 6-1 with Dr. Robinson in opposition. Last item on the agenda, Mr. Superintendent, P2.
I recommend the board approve the personnel addendum as submitted.
Motion by Dr. Robinson, seconded by Ms. Ayala. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Mr. Superintendent, do you have anything else?
Mr. Chairman, I do not.
Motion to adjourn the meeting. Motion by Mrs. Whitfield, seconded by Ms. Ayala. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. This meeting is adjourned.